G'day everybody, it is Saturday the 2nd of May 2020. We're heading into our second live Pomodoro. Yesterday, after I finished the recording, I then uploaded it to YouTube. I set a Pomodoro to do it and started working on the text for the description. And then just as I was going to post it, it said that my account wasn't verified and I had to verify myself to post videos longer than 15 minutes and then start again. And I spent a little bit of time organizing things after that. And so it was late by that stage, so I went to bed. So it's now 20 to 11 on Saturday. So let's get into it. I'm going to start our next Pomodoro. However, so that's set now. We'll hear a buzz soon. So one thing I do want to talk about before moving on is what I got wrong yesterday. I got a lot of things wrong yesterday. I think being nervous, being new to this, my brain clicks into gear and my mouth starts running, but the connection between my mouth and the brain is sometimes a bit wired wrong. So I said things like, I talked about asynchronous programming, and I described something that wasn't asynchronous programming when looking at ActiveX. I think it was. I could be wrong. I said Rust was an object-oriented language. It's an imperative language. I talked about WebAssembly being a common communications framework. That may be true, but WebAssembly is more about being able to program your web applications in language of your choice, or one of the selected languages of your choice, and being able to deliver them via the web. At least my understanding. I still may be getting this very wrong. I haven't used WebAssembly yet. It's a technology I'm very interested in as far as what I can see. Let's go. As far as what I can see with WebAssembly, let's see. It seems to be kind of like Java, that you have these binaries that are interpreted by a virtual machine, and it's because one concern with the web is safety, both for the user as well as for the server or the deliverer of the software. By having these virtual machines that can control what is being able to executed, what is able to be executed within that virtual machine is very important, because it means that software can't, for example, look up personal information on your computer or look up other things. So there are current deficiencies in even web model, as we know, with things like cookies and tracking. These things of concern. These things are still going to be a concern even with WebAssembly, but WebAssembly is trying to create a convenient and safe manner, or safer manner of doing it. You can read more about WebAssembly at webassembly.org. We're not going to touch WebAssembly quite yet. We just want to get our minimal viable product, but I thought it was worthwhile noting that. What did I also say? I said Rust was an object-oriented language. Rust is not an object-oriented language. Rust is an imperative language, so it's more like C than C++. And you can read more about Rust at rustlang.org. But today, I want to stay on point. You see, I've just took some little notes down here about what I want to say. And the next step to do is to install Rust on my Mac. So we'll be switching between my home MacBook Air, which is it's mid-level, but it's actually pretty low powered compared to what I could get with another computer. But anyway, back on task. So I will be switching between my Mac and my Linux machine from time to time. So let's get going though with the Mac. I'm not going to show you how to install this on Linux. I'm going to leave that up to you if you're using Linux. But I'm going to go through installing it now on my MacBook Air. So here we are, rustlang.org, tools, installs. What it's saying? It says that looks like you're running Mac OS, Linux, or another Unix-like OS. To download Rust up and install Rust, run the following in the terminal, then follow the on-screen instructions. See other installation methods if you're on Windows. Let's take a look at the notes first, just before we do that. Getting started. Tool management chain, Rust up. Configuring path. So there are other ways of installing Rust. They obviously have other tools and so forth that different people use. However, they're really pushing for you to use Rust up. So let's not try to be too different or too fancy. Let's try to keep things standard. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to open up a terminal. And we're going to paste that. So what that command does, it's here. Curl is just going to Curl is just going to go to the web and grab the file that this link is pointing to. And then this is a pipe, so it's going to take the output from this command and put it into shell. So it's going to execute whatever script is being delivered from here. And it's delivering it over the HTTPS protocol, it looks like, and TLS. So this is details of the HTTPS request. And I'm not sure what those parameters are. I don't know that deep level curl off the top of my head. I don't use it every day. So let's see. I could scroll. Welcome to Rust. This will download and install the official compiler for the Rust programming language and its package manager, Cargo. It will add the Cargo, rustc, rustup, and other commands to Cargo's bin directory located in my home directory .cargo bin. This can be modified with the Cargo home environment variable. Rustup metadata and toolchains will be stored on Rustup home directory, blah blah blah. This path will be then added to your path environment variable by modifying the profile files located at there. You can uninstall at any time with the Rustup self uninstall, and these changes will be reverted. So we can proceed with the installation using the default settings. We can do a custom installation, obviously maybe changing paths, or we can cancel installation, but let's proceed. I'm trusting you, Rust. Maybe now would have been a good time to give that speech earlier. Great, Rust is installed now, great. To get started, you need Cargo's bin home in your path environment variable. Next time you log in, this will be done automatically. Okay, so I think it's saying that it's already added Cargo into the path, but the current session that this terminal is running in, when your bash is the shell that I'm using here. Most computers, most Unix-like operating systems use a version of bash. The terminal is the command line here. So if I start a new command line and add echo path, right there, you can see far out I've got a lot of things in my path, but you can see that it's added that there. If I was to do that same here, it's not there, so that's fine. We'll close that session. We're here. Let's check the notes again. Configuring the past. During installation, RustUp will attempt to configure the path. We can see that that happened correctly. I've just looked at that now. Because of differences between platform, command shells, and bugs in RustUp, the modification path may not take effect until the console is restarted, or the user is logged out, or it may not succeed at all. Well, we know that it didn't work without restarting the console, and we expected that. That's very normal behavior. I don't have to log out because we know that bash was restarted and bash read from either a .profile or .bash profile or .bash rc. There's several little control files that get executed in the current environment when bash starts. You have a new login. After installation, running rustc version in the console. Okay, so let's run this and we should see that it gives a version number. There we go. Perfect. Looks like we have Rust installed. That was extremely fast and extremely painless. I've been talking for 10 minutes now, a bit over 10 minutes, and only part of that time has been installing Rust. Okay, so let's take a look at my list. I also said wanted to install Rust, install Tower Web. So I'm just thinking for a moment before I move on to the next task. We've installed Rust. Do we just want to take a quick look at Rust before moving on, or do we want to go straight on to installing Tower Web? I think it might be, considering how ridiculously easy it was also, it might be a good idea just to have a very quick look at what they're saying here and getting started. When you install Rust, you'll also get the latest stable version of the Rust build tool and package manager known as Cargo. Cargo does lots of things. Build your project with Cargo Build, run your project with Cargo Run, test your project with Cargo Test, I like to hear that. Build documentation with Cargo Doc, and publish a library to crates.io with Cargo Publish. To test that your Rust and Cargo are installed, you can run this in the terminal of your choice, Cargo version, using bash, as I said. Let's just do that. Cargo is running. Fantastic. Cargo is installed, I should say. It's not running now. Other tools, generating new project. Okay, so let's go and create our I don't think we should worry about this too much now. I think I should keep moving on. We have our bonus goal. We've achieved this goal, and we have our bonus goal of installing Tower Web. Let's see if it's going to be as fast, and we can do it in less than 10 minutes. I've got just over 10 minutes remaining on this Pomodoro. Tower Web. This is the GitHub. I'm sure that there was a web page that I was looking at yesterday. Anyway, excuse me. Seems like that is the right place to go. Let's click something here. Fast, fully asynchronous, built on Tokyo and Hyper, ergonomic. Okay, one thing I haven't said is why I chose Tower Web. From what I can see, Tower Web works in Rust stable, which is good. From what I can see, it tries to be as Rust-like as possible. It tries not to enforce too much of itself over Rust, so everything's done in Rust code. And I really like the sound of that because Rust is really new to us, and I want to manage how much I have to learn at once. And I want to keep my main focus in Rust because I'm still going to have to learn that framework, but I don't want to be learning too much. I don't want to be. It's good to learn one thing at a time. So I'm kind of trying to do several things at once. So I just want to keep that process smooth. Getting started. The best way to get started. Tower Web aims to decouple all HTTP concepts from application logic. You define a plain old Rust method. This method takes only the data it needs to complete and returns a struct representing the response. Tower Web does the rest. Okay, that is what's attractive to me, because that I can keep the application logic separate. This is attractive. So getting started. Best way to get started is read examples and API docs. Doesn't really tell me much about installation. So let's take a look at these API documentations. Let's take a look at Tower Web. So I think what I might do is, let's go back here. Let's clone this. Let's go back to our terminal. I like to keep my programming work in a subdirectory off my home directory called Workspaces. So, got a few things there. So let's clone. This directory contains a number of examples showcasing various capabilities of Tower Web. Hello world, getting started with Tower Web. This demonstrates how to get a basic web service running. So don't know if I need to be in the top level directory or in the examples directory. Thinking maybe the top level directory. I'm going to try and find out. If we muck anything up, we can always just re-download the delete and reclone the repository. Cargo run. No, that's not right. Example and what? Hello world. Hello underworld. Updating crates. Oh. Doo-doo-doo. It's downloading a lot of dependencies. A lot of dependencies. We have like 6-7 minutes left. Very exciting. Just watching things scroll by. The riveting life of a developer. So while that's happening, let's take a look if we can find out more. There seems to be a lot of implied understanding here. Let's take a look. Great. Tower Web is a fast web framework that aims to remove boilerplate. The goal is to decouple all HTTP concepts from application logic. You implement your application using plain old Rust types, and Tower Web uses a macro to generate the necessary glue to serve the application as an HTTP service. The bulk of Tower Web lies in the impl web macro. Tower Web also provides derive extract for extracting data out of the HTTP request, and derive response for converting a struct to an HTTP response. Example directory contains a number of examples showing how to use Tower Web. So implement web macro wraps one or more implement blocks and generates resource implementations. The structs may then be passed to service builder. Struct my app. Implement my app. Get function self result string and empty. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be an anonymous function call or what this is. As we get more familiar with Rust, this will make more sense. It's making some sense already without even knowing Rust that well. Clearly I'm a learn by doing type of guy. Routing attributes start with an HTTP verb and contain a path that is matched. For example, get, post, and put. Path segments that begin with a colon are captures. They match any path segment and allow resource methods to get access to the value. For example, there's that impl web implementation. My app, get hello message. Okay, so this must be a string substitution, putting in whatever's in the message variable into that string, and it's returning an OK, like HTTP OK response. There's different responses you can save, whether it's valid, the request was processed successfully, it returns an OK, and its format is obviously formatting the message into HTTP, and it includes the message result. So whatever we say, so if we say localhost hello hi, I expect it to respond hi. Now it's not going to be the default localhost like that, because it's not going to, by default it's not going to be on the standard ports. Don't normally just run test servers on standard ports because you may not necessarily have access to the web server ports. What I'm really curious about is testing, because I really want to start with testing. So here's the little data model of the request or the result. It's called my data. Get. Okay, so this is a request. It expects foo, bar, and baz. How is it? We'll have to come back to that. Aha. Foo, bar, baz. So it's taking this query string and it's passing out these named variables, or passing in these named variables. Okay, so if I would have read that, it says derive extract, and that is extracting from the request, and it has a derived response, which is time's up. So I will see you again shortly. I'm going to have a little snack, maybe start putting it on. I think I might put on my lunch actually, and then return. Actually, then I'm going to go to the store because I need to buy a fridge, or at least look at fridges. And then in the afternoon, I'll have my next session with you. Look forward to it and speak to you later.